Hi and welcome to On the Record, your playbook for tapping India. Today we will be looking at a topic which is not directly concerned to you, but rather if you are hiring a contractor in India, the contractors are liable for multiple compliances at their end because technically they are running a business. So there are multiple compliances which is applicable to them. So today we will look at why these compliances are important from your perspective. So first let's understand what those compliances are and then we'll talk about why these are important for you. So first and foremost, there are compliances around direct tax and indirect tax. So for example, a contractor who's supplying you services, since it is an export service, there could be a GST implication to it. Although there are exemption limit which is about 20 lakh rupees as on date. So if anybody is offering you services more than 20 lakh rupees, then they are liable to, even if they are liable to free GST, they should be registered under GST and then they should declare the sales under GST. If they are not doing it, there could be a huge cost that the GST department can ask for it. Typically, there are two ways a GST for export services are done. One is via a letter of undertaking or LUT, where if you have declared it well in advance with GST, you don't have to pay GST and then claim a refund. You can do a zero GST services to the company. But if you have not done a letter of undertaking, the rule says that you have to pay the GST on export and then claim it as a refund, which people, if they are not aware of, they may not be doing it. So there could be a sudden demand in lakhs of rupees that the contractor will end up paying and then they have to go ahead and claim it as a refund of that same thing. So if they are not compliant with it, there could be challenges that could come up in the future. Now from a direct tax perspective, typically a salary tax returns are much more simpler than a business return. So if a contractor, since they are doing a business, they have to go through a complicated set of income tax returns. So they should be aware of it and they should be able to handle that. Now most of the contractors, especially the ones who is doing services under 50 lakh rupees, are also liable for a reduced tax rate if they fall under certain categories, which is about 50% advantage. So since there is a blanket exemption available of 50%, there is a higher chance of scrutiny from income tax department that if they are doing things well or not. Also there are clauses related to withholding of tax which many people may or may not be doing it. So you should also be aware whether they are doing the appropriate withholding tax for their purchases and expenses or not. Otherwise there could be a demand from that side. Now, as I mentioned, since a contractor is treated as doing a business, there are other licenses which gets applicable. Things like Shops and Establishment Act, professional tax, depending on state to state, various labor laws which is applicable. So you have to evaluate whether which location the contractor is operating from and what are those other labor laws that could get triggered or not. Your contractor may also be liable for import-export code. Because this is an export of service, so they need to have an IEC. Otherwise, technically their money will not get credited in the bank. But the bankers, because of the personal nature of money, many times are unable to track whether this is for a services or this is for some other kind of income. So it is important for you to know whether your contractor has an IEC license in place or not. Now you would be wondering why you should be concerned whether your contractor is doing all these things or not. So imagine a case where your contractor has been found non-compliant and he has been slapped with a lot of notices and penalties and taxes and all these things. Now this could bring disruption in your service. So there could be a break in your services because your contractor is busy fighting all these things. So it could disrupt your services or business. So depending on the extent of reliability of your business on these contractors, that's the level of impact that you could look at. There is another level which is more for grown-up companies. You are seeing associated working with people who are non-compliant in nature. And this could also bring in corporate governance question in your next fundraise as well. Why you have non-compliant contracts and people who are non-compliant. So this could raise questions on your level of corporate governance standards that you value and follow and implement within your organization. So these are the few things that you should be aware, which could impact your branding, it could impact your corporate governance values, and it could impact your service disruption, or it could impact your business for the possible service disruption that these non-compliances could bring to your contractor. So before hiring a contractor, it is a good idea to look at some of these aspects so as to ensure that none of your business disrupts during the course of your relationship. That's it for this video. Thank you and take care.